Good morning. This is 6.1 day 2 of our notes. Just a little bit of a review of what we are doing right before we headed into our break. And before we get started today, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Bojangles. He's got some red eyes there. He wanted to say hello before we got started. He hopes you're getting lots of rest, just like him. And back to math. All right, so when we see a problem that looks like this, what we need to do is we need to look at what g of x is. So here it is negative x plus 8. So f is going to stay the same, and g of x is going to be replaced with negative x plus 8. So I'm going to write negative x plus 8 here. And now what I have to do, since this technically says f times negative x plus 8, I have to take the value of f, which is negative 3x, and I'm going to put that in front here in place of the f. So f turns into negative 3x, and I'm going to be multiplying that by my negative x plus 8. If I have negative 3x and negative x, I'm going to be distributing here. Two negatives equal a positive. So I have 3, and then x times x is x to the second. So the first one is done. I'm going to do my negative 3x times my 8, and I'm left with negative 24x. And because this is x to the second, and this is just x to that imaginary first, we can't combine any of these because they're not like terms. And there we have it. That's our first example. Not too bad. All right. I'm going to do another example here where I'm just going to take these two and I'm just going to flip-flop them just like how it's written here. But I'm going to do this as a second example, and I'm going to write it as g of f of x. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this value, which is f of x, and I'm going to replace it with this. So my g is going to stay the same, and I'm going to multiply it by my value of f of x, which is negative 3x. So I just took this value of f of x and I plugged it in here where that was. And now I'm going to take my value of g, and instead of writing g, I'm going to take this whole thing up here and I'm going to plug it in down here. So now I have negative x plus 8. I'm going to put that in parentheses. And then I'm going to take this, which is already in parentheses. And that's okay that there's only one term here and that there's two parts there. We are going to take this one and multiply it by this. And then I'm going to take this one and multiply it by this. So if I do the first one, I've got negative x times negative 3x, and that gives me a negative, two negatives make a positive. I've got 3x to the second, and I've got 8 times negative 3, that gives me negative 24. 8 times 3 is 24, and I have an x. And the funny thing about this is it looks like they're both the same answer. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's how this one is. I'm going to do maybe 2 more. Let's see. That was number 2. Let's write number 3 here. All right, so if I have g of f of negative 4, this is the same as what I have up here. The only difference is now I have a number here. So my g is going to stay the same. My parentheses stay. F is going to stay the same. But now, where I have f, I'm going to take this stuff here. I'm going to take my negative. Wait, I lied. my f is a negative 3x. And I'm going to take this negative 4 and plug it in here. So g stays the same. And I've got negative 3. And instead of writing x, I'm replacing it with a negative 4. Because technically this says negative 3 times x. That's the same thing as negative 3 times negative 4. Oh, Bojangles has passed out and he's snoring. Math puts him to sleep. I'm sorry if it does the same for you. G stays the same. And I've got two negatives equal a positive. So I've got a positive 12 here. And my value of G, going back to my original values up here, this is my value of G. So I'm going to write negative x plus 8, because this is my value of G. I got that from up here. And this is my value that I got from following each of these steps. So I'm going to take that value of 12 and plug it in where I have x. So now I have negative 12 plus 8. Negative 12 plus 8 equals a negative 4. Voila. All right, I'm going to do one more. All right. And again, this is section 6.1, day 2. It's just a review. So let's see. Ooh, it looks like we're going to have a different value that we're looking for. So it says to find h of g of 3. And what I'm going to do is, since I don't have a value of h up here, I'm going to add one in. I'm going to say h of x equals x squared minus 2x plus 1, and I'm going to be looking for my value of g first. So I don't need h just yet, so h is going to stay the same, and my value of g is negative x plus 8. So I'm going to write negative x plus 8 here, and my value of 3 is going to be plugged in for that value of x. So now I have h, because h stays the same, and I've got negative 3, because x is replaced with the 3, plus 8, that stays the same, h stays the same, and if I have 8 and a negative 3, that gives me a positive 5. So now I'm going to look for what h is. Since up here it says h equals this stuff, I'm going to write what h is, and h equals x squared minus 2x plus 1. All right, so now I'm going to take this value of 5 and I'm going to plug it in wherever I see x. So now I have 5 squared instead of x squared, because I'm taking 5 and I'm plugging it in where I see x. So I have 5 squared minus 2 times my value of x, which is again still 5, because everywhere where I see x, I'm plugging in the value of 5, plus 1. Alright, 5 squared is the same as 5 times 5, which equals 25. And we've got a negative 2 times a positive 5. So that means I've got a negative 10, because 2 times 5 is 10. And plus 1, plus 1. All right, 25, take away 10. That gives me 15. Plus 1 equals 16. There's my final answer. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. If not, be sure to send Miss Bear or I an email. But yeah, I think that was actually based off of this page from our notes, the day 6.1 day 2 notes. So you can also check it out here for some extra some extra support. So that was just the back page of the 6.1 Day 2 notes. And this is another page that I believe we took for homework, for some homework points. So if you haven't done that, I think just maybe spend a little time finishing up that. You can always send us pictures of it and we can put it in for points. Here's a little bit more of practice of 6.1 Day 2. So if you haven't done it, I definitely would. And it looks like 6.2 is next. All right, so I'm going to end our video here. Jangles, you want to say goodbye? Oh, he woke up. Time done math.